Hello from Crestone, Colorado. My name is Joy Roby, and welcome to the Be the Change webinar, 3 top visionary ways. And actually, I think we're going to have a lot more than 3 because we ended up having a couple extra special guest speakers on tonight. And I'm really excited to get started and to introduce you to them. But first, I want to bring out my business partner, my best friend, Marilyn Harper from Springfield, Missouri. Are you there, Marilyn?
I am here. I am right here in living color, personal in time for this exciting webinar. Be the change. You know, change is upon us. Aderonda has been saying that for 15 years. You're the change, I'm the change, we're all the change. Now we've got be the change. And it's so exciting. You know, if anybody has a question or a comment, we may not be able to answer all of your questions, but put those in the question mark box over on the right hand part of your screen, and you can comment in the chat box on the right hand part of your screen.
Are you doing my job?
Maybe.
Well, before we get fully started here, I want to welcome everyone, and for those of you who are joining us for the first time and have never been on webinars on air, there's just a few things that I'd like to tell you before we get started. If you find that your screen is freezing up during the webinar presentation at any time, then you might want to make sure that you have no other applications running on your machine right now. Close out all other windows on your computer, in your browser, and just have the webinar browser up. That will help you conserve some bandwidth and get a better picture. If you have more trouble, type whatever issue you have going on in the chat window, and we've got Brave Dave in the background. He's holding down the signal, and he would be happy to assist you, or I'll assist you as well. And if that still is not working, you may want to quit your application, restart your machine, and join us again live, so that way you'll get a better picture. Those things seem to help people when they're having challenges in webinars on air. And as Marilyn said, we will try our best to get to your questions. We're going to be moving really fast. We've got 3 live guests with us tonight, and we want to make sure we give them their time to let you know their top visionary ways. And so if you do have a question, you can type it. You'll see on the left-hand side of your screen there's a little question mark. If you click on that question mark, you can type your question in there. That's the only place that I'll take questions from, because the chat window tends to move and we lose track of it, but I don't lose track of the questions. So if you could do that, that would really help me out a lot. And in the meantime, too, please go into the chat window and say hello. Let us know your name and where you're watching us from. It's always nice to get a connection with those of you who are with us live. And for those of you who are listening to this later on the replay, welcome as well. And I think that's all I have to say. Take it away, Marilyn.
Da, 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 da. You know, when we started talking about this webinar, it was so fascinating, because we are, as you well know, that we are having a conference in the end of this month, and at the end of this webinar, I want to tell you, we're going to offer you an amazing special. We have a very special offer, and we want you to be a part of it. You know, one of the things about being a change maker is to join into community, is to join into all of that energy of focusing on a community. That's why we do the double digit every month, to bring in that community. That is why we have retreats. We're going to Thailand in November, and we do still have a few openings if any of you are interested, to awaken the Buddha within. We gather people at our conference, and that is one of the first things in being a change maker. But before I get to that part, what I'd really like to do is to define what a change maker is. So Joy, I asked you that question earlier, and I'll ask you again. What is a change maker?
Well, I told you, it's that guy who wears that little metal thing on his belt, and when you give him $1, he pushes a button down and he gets some change out of that little, device, right?
Yes.
No?
That's the dictionary definition of change maker. So as you see, we are, and that's great. Thank you. You answered that perfectly. We are making changes to such an extent that the word's not even in the dictionary with the correct definition. I got a text from somebody here at gmail.com. I don't know who that is. Wants login information. I'm turning my phone over at gmail.com. Anyway, what is a change maker? That was a change. A change maker is anyone who follows with making a difference in society, no matter how small, no matter how big, no matter how massive that change is. You're still a change maker. It's transforming humanity on a global level. All sorts of things could possibly create being a change maker. That's what all of y'all are. You are change makers whether you know it or not. I talked with somebody the other day and they said, how do I make a difference? And I said, well, you make a difference just by walking around in the world. I can tell my earrings are going to have to come off. You make a difference just by being present with who you are. That is really sometimes the hardest thing to do, is allowing yourself to just be. And in that beingness, that is about that change makerness. That's, a change maker in today's world is actually a person with leadership skills, and it's a person without leadership skills. In the past we thought of people that are making a difference in the world that they had to do some huge thing. Who are change makers, or who are people that are making a difference in the world? Deepak Chopra is making a difference. Oprah made a huge difference. Eckhart Tolle. Who else made a difference in the world? Can you think of anybody, Joy? Are you here with me?
I
I'm
am.
all by myself.
No, you're not. You're not out there flapping by yourself. It's who made. Well, for me, Steve Jobs was one of the biggest change maker of all. I mean, he had a huge influence on my life, and Tesla and Einstein and Mother Teresa and
Yes.
I mean there's just so many, and then there's people who like my third grade teacher, Mrs. Dye. She made a huge change in my life, and I mean there's probably more people that I could think of that are just everyday people that are not world famous, that Mr. Smith, who taught me how to play guitar, and there are people that made a huge change in my life that were in my life for a very short amount of time. So I think that's really important to note, that you never know when you are going to make a huge influence on somebody in a positive way.
Yeah, I saw somebody said Wayne Dyer. Yes. Dalai Lama. Yes. All of those. Ellen DeGeneres. Huge change.
Yeah.
And you think of all of those people, but I like that the 7th grade teacher, my 7th grade speech teacher, made a huge difference in my life. When I was teaching, I saw somebody 20 years after I stopped teaching, and they said, "Wow, you told me, changed my whole life." And I'm like, "Holy smokes, what in the world did I tell you?" You never know when you are somewhere that you're making a difference. There's a little girl, she's 11, Jessica Markowitz. She learned about the girls in Rwanda, and she started a whole movement in her school called Richard's Rwanda, and that made that difference. Another high school sophomore started he liked baking, and he started doing baking for breast club awareness, and all of
Breast
that make
cancer.
cancer awareness, breast cancer. Sorry, not breast club.
That would make a difference too, I'm sure.
It would. You know, the thing is, oh, I love it. Somebody said Lee Carroll and Marilyn Harper. Yay! You know, Donna Eden. You know, Cry On. Absolutely. The thing is that the thing that we want you to take away from this tonight, besides have a desire to play with us in Hot Springs, is to realize that no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter how much fun you're having or how much fun you're not having, you are still a change maker. You are still making a difference in your world. You know, I had a friend lately that came into a room, and he was just, actually it was my son, came into a room, and he was like angry, upset. Everybody, and he never said a word, but everybody in that room felt his energy. And that's where it is right now. Uh, when it comes in happy and joyful, everybody feels their energy too. And that's how making a difference is important. Whether you are sitting in a restaurant, whether you are talking to someone, whether you are speaking to the clerk. I mean, Aderonda always used the clerk at Walmart or at the market. You know, you are making changes in that person's life. Um, some people believe that you used to have to be a leader to make those changes, but you really don't have to be a leader. You know, sometimes I talked with someone, and she loved planting things, and it reminded me of a story that a lady that I met in here in Springfield. She's got to be, she's still alive, but I met her 20 years ago, so she's got to be in her 90s by now. Her yard looks so beautiful. She's got flowers, roses. It changes color with the season. It's so beautiful. But at her corner, they put a stop sign in, and there were lots of accidents right at that corner. I don't know if they didn't realize there was a stop sign there, it was new, or they were looking at her yard. But I stopped and talked to her one day, and I told her how much I appreciated her yard and how beautiful it was. And she had never had anybody do that before, and she told me all about her children, told me all about how she got into planting, all of that. And I thought, I made a difference in her life. And then after that, she planted a little ring of impatience, the flower impatience, around the stop sign, and there's not been an accident at that corner since. So, you know, she made a difference amongst people that had accidents, and all she did was plant flowers. You know, you just never know where that change is coming from, how that change is coming through, or what is happening. And we've got 3 of our speakers here today that we have at the conference. I'm assuming that everybody and their brother knows that we're having an amazing convergence of energies at the end of this month in Hot Springs, Arkansas. I just assume that everyone knows that. However, you may not know. It's called Visionaries in Light Convergence, and it is the 25th through the 27th in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And the reason we have it in Hot Springs is because Mount Ida is just a few miles away, and that is one of the 12 nodes as listed by Cryon on the planet. And I thought, Cryon will never go to Arkansas. And that's why we have our conference there, as we were guided to go there. Of course, Cryon is also going there next year, but even though he never goes to Arkansas. But in the convergence, we have about 20 speakers that are cutting edge, that are bringing in brand new ideas, are rekindling old ideas with a new twist. Because as you know, if you've listened to Aderonda channel, everything that was 2 or 3 years ago is no more. You cannot do things the same. You can't drive the same. You can't eat the same. You can't do anything the same. Everything is new. It's all changed. And so we are bringing in 20 change makers or more to be with you to help ignite whatever your vision is. Help ignite you making a difference. And it's so cool that we got 3 speakers to come on at short notice, and they're all over the world. It's so exciting to have these 3 keynote speakers acknowledge what they bring to the making a difference energy. Joy, would you like to introduce our first speaker? You know her much better than I. Although
I would love to. I would be honored to introduce Karen McKay, who, by the way, brings in an ancient technology from Lemuria. And so, you know, talk about making change. The talent and skill that she brings in is so amazing. Marilyn and I have both experienced it and experienced the benefits from it, and she'll tell you a little bit more. Maybe she'll wait till the convergence to tell you about that part. But Karen McKay is not only a friend of mine, she's also a client of mine, and I adore her. She wants to change the world. You know, I can remember the first time she called me up, and she was so passionate about what she was doing. And I personally am drawn to people like that. I get really excited when they get excited about helping people be the best that they can be. Karen McKay, let's see if I've got her bio right here. She's an international speaker, a full-time Psych instructor. She helps you understand your current belief systems. She helps you understand how your current belief systems determine the future success or failure in every area of your life. Once she was a painfully timid and shy child. She shares you can absolutely change who you are by simply changing your subconscious beliefs that you were programmed to live from. Beliefs passed on from previous generations affect us every moment until we change them. And I know this firsthand because she worked with me, she's worked with Dave, has she worked with you, Marilyn? Have you gotten you haven't worked with her yet, have you?
I haven't, not yet. I'm hoping to at the convergence.
Yeah. Well, she is amazing at what she does, and she's also an awesome speaker and a teacher. And I'm going to bring her forward now. Karen McKay, are you there with us?
I'm here. How are you?
Doing awesome. Doing great.
Great.
So I actually have a question for you, Karen. I mean, in all of your work with Psyche, which is an amazing thing, I want to know if you could, I don't know if you can, share just like one thing that if anybody did this, that they would be making a difference, if they would be being the change. What's one possible thing that you could do?
Well, thanks for the question, Marilyn. I really feel that the one big thing that a person can do is to move beyond their limiting beliefs and step into their personal empowerment. So most of us have started life as a very small child, probably as a baby. and during that time, even in utero, our system is being programmed for the world that we're going to be coming into. And that really is an unknown part for most people about how much of our power is already being stripped away even while we're in utero. And then, of course, when we're born, our family structures start working us over too, and we keep getting boxed in smaller and smaller into disempowered states of being. And so I think our big job really is to reclaim our personal empowerment in the world and step forward into a courageous life, courageous living, and really be the change that you're talking about. Because when we do step forward from that empowered place, then we are creating huge changes right every moment.
Well, and when I've got Maria in her question and answer. She says she feels like she's at a 0 point in life, that she can't seem to get that change to happen. Any suggestions as to how somebody, besides have a session with you for Psyche?
Sure.
I know that can happen.
Yeah.
But can you help us with that?
Well, sure. I think one of the most important things for us to do at a beginning place is to start becoming aware of how we feel and what is going on in our life. If we can take an inventory of our personal feelings and our personal expression of our feelings and the history that we've been going through and literally start writing it down. I know that might sound kind of old school, but it's a very useful tool in helping us become more aware. So if you can sit down and write down the limiting beliefs that you have in your immediate knowingness. One of the big beliefs that happens in every workshop I teach is that I'm not good enough. And I am astounded that class after class after class for a basic workshop, that is what comes out of the group, and everybody nods their head in accord that, yep, I feel that way too. How is it that we live in this world, in this modern age, and every single one of us feels that we're not good enough? So the first thing is to take an inventory. Start writing down the beliefs that you have, that you are aware of. And at first it might feel like real drudgery because a lot of them are not very pretty. We have beliefs about relationships, we have beliefs about money, we have beliefs about our own self-esteem, we have beliefs about really just about anything under the sun that you could possibly think of. And in regards to relationships, you could start with every sibling or each parent or grandparent that you have and think about the beliefs that they've passed on to you. A lot of times these are beliefs that have not been our grandparents or parents were not even aware that they were passing on beliefs to us. So start taking this inventory. That's the first thing. Then after you've taken your inventory, start thinking about what would you rather have your belief be about each one of those instead. And when you can start identifying your desired state of being, then that allows you to really start moving into your first step of personal empowerment, because your awareness is a key element in creating your personal empowerment.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really juicy information, because I think that most people really want to make a difference in their world. They want, and they want to, and they're not on a global scale necessarily, but that's one thing that they can do. Joy, did you have something that I saw?
Yeah, I was writing down because you reminded me. I didn't want to lose my thought, Karen, because you reminded me of something. One of the other speakers, Jennifer Huff, who's also going to be speaking at Visionaries and Light Convergence, she said recently that really stuck in my head, and I don't want to get credit for it because somebody gave me credit for it yesterday, and I heard it from Jennifer, but she said, part of our limiting beliefs come from the fact that we're taught success comes from going from point A to point B. You go to school, you get your degree, you get the job, you get the amount of money, you buy the house, you go down this path, and it's like this constant checking off the list, right? Point A to point B, point A to point B. And the truth is that the universe has no point B. It's all expansion. You just keep leaning into it and leaning into it, and yet we're so programmed to think success comes with point B that I really think that that's where limiting beliefs come from, and how we can get into that feeling of not being enough. Because if we ever went down point A and got detoured a little bit, like maybe we started out going to college, but we decided that something else was the right path for us, we take that on as being a failure, when the reality is there is no failure.
Right. I agree with you completely. And sometimes the most incredible part of our journey is just getting out of bed each morning. There's, I don't know how many thousands, and it's probably more like hundreds of thousands of people don't wake up every morning, but my sweet husband always says, hey, I won the lottery today. And I used to fall into the trap, and I'd say, well, what? And he'd just get a big smile, and he said, I woke up this morning. There's a lot of people that didn't wake up this morning, and that's true. And so after we get up and we start moving, what's our next courageous thing that we need to do? Sometimes just getting to work or sitting down and knocking out a letter. Those are small steps. I look at success as a series of steps, and we get to the end of our life and we say, wow, my life was a success because I lived it fully. I lived it every moment. Life can only be lived in the moment. We can't live in the future. We can't live in the past, although a lot of people try. But we can really only live right now, right this single second. What are you doing with that single second? What are we doing right here, right now? Well, we're having this wonderful conversation that's helping lots of people light up their lives. So every single second matters. What you do, what breath you take, what step you make, every single thing you do matters in your journey to success.
Absolutely.
It
well
certainly
said.
does. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Karen, for taking time out of your Wednesday evening to share these words of wisdom with us and share your ideas. You can contact Karen at subconsciouschange.com. Subconsciouschange.com is her website. And please check that out. And thank you so much. Write it down. Have the awareness. See what it is that you want. So that's great. Thank you so much, Karen. I appreciate you.
Yeah, we'll share more about all of these other next steps at the Convergence.
Yes, and you're teaching a workshop at the Convergence, right?
I am.
And what's the workshop on?
Well, it's all about getting started on working on your limiting beliefs. So it'll be all about knocking these things out, because this is the key element. When you get a hold of those beliefs, that's the first and most important thing to do.
That is great, and that's at the Convergence on September 25th through the 27th in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Thank you so much. Thank you, Karen.
Thank
I
you,
really
Marilyn.
appreciate your time.
And thank you, Joy, for having me on.
Yeah. Marilyn, I think one of the things that we forgot to say in the very beginning is that we are going to make a special offer at the end of this webinar.
We did say that, but we can certainly remind everybody of that.
So sit tight.
Pen and paper out.
Absolutely. We are going to make a special offer at the end of this webinar. But in the meantime, we've got some great tips for you. And, I think one of the tips that I would say that has helped me the most is just, when I get triggered or when I feel like I'm not enough and I'm not stepping into my power, is to just come back to center. For me, it's nature, to go outside and just appreciate the trees, appreciate the color of the sky, appreciate, everything. Just look around you and look for all the things that you appreciate. And I think there's so many just like little things that we can help people with that, have become part of our daily life, Marilyn, that are really actually habits. Like one of the things I was thinking about as Karen was talking was she had mentioned that her husband says he won the lottery, and I have to go back to that as surrounding yourself with people who support you, surrounding yourself with people who are positive. You don't have to be the one who's always bringing everybody else up, although it's really important that you're in that position, but you can also make a habit and make a point of being around people who lift you up as well.
And I think that is so important, that community, as you are forming, that who you are hanging around with, who your friends are, who all of that influences you. They are reflecting each other. So that's why it's important to connect with a community. And as you know, with the Convergence, the Visionaries in Light, the people that attend, they come back year after year, because in that year after year attending, they meet their best friend. They meet their family. It's like a family reunion, because that community and that support is so important. But our next speaker is so amazing. She was a speaker at our very first convention, and she has spoken at a couple of our conferences, and I had the opportunity, Joy and I had the opportunity to stay with her at the Summer Light Conference, staying in their house in the house in Sedona together, and it was so amazing to get to know our next speaker. I can't wait to share her with you at the convergence, or share her with you now. Now, she's coming to us from Alaska. She's coming to us from the outback in Alaska, where they barely have an internet connection. To get to an internet connection, she had to drive somewhere in an ATV, and I'm not even sure what an ATV is. But I don't think it means a TV in my house. But Lenedra Carroll is an accomplished businesswoman, visionary, speaker, singer, artist, and author. She grew up in rural Alaska and is back there right now visiting. She has achievements out the wazoo as to the places that she's gone. When you meet her at the convergence, you'll think, I know her. I've seen her. I know her. Well, she's been on Oprah. She's been on the Today Show. She's been on CBS News. She's been on all the big shows. Her unique.
She's been on our show.
And she's been on our show. In fact, her June 22nd radio show, Blog Talk Radio, Visionaries in Light, on Blog Talk Radio. Listen to it. It's in the archives. You can listen to it anytime. It was one of the most amazing radio shows that we've done to date. Wonderful show. Go back and listen to it on June 22nd. Anyway, she has written the book Architecture for All Abundance. Now, talk about being a change maker. That book changed my concept. In fact, I actually have it right behind my desk back here. It changed the concept of the way I felt and thought about abundance. Whenever I'm searching for an answer or searching for energy or searching for information, I go to it, I take a deep breath, I bring myself present, and I open it. And she is a wonderful, wonderful, amazing speaker. Her book took the NAPRA 2002 award, and well, I could go on and on, but first I'll just bring Lenedra out. Lenedra, are you here with us?
Marilyn, I just want you to follow me around all of my life and see if you can that.
Okay, I can do that.
Well, we actually fought over who got to introduce you, Lenedra.
But you see how I just jumped right in and did it.
That's right.
I talked really fast there at the beginning. I knew Joy was going to interrupt me.
Well, we're a mutual admiration society, the three of us.
Absolutely. And so we were talking earlier about things that can be done to be the difference, things that can be done to be a change maker, to be someone that maybe pops something out from a device that all of a sudden creates change. What do you bring? What would you suggest that someone could do to elicit change in their life?
Take action. We all love to live in our upper chakras, and it's really so much fun. Just let that light pour in. But we got to get our lows on, too. And when we get down in our lower chakras and really get our low frequencies vibed up, which is a very good thing, then we can take action. I think right now, one of the most important understanding Spirit has given me is, honey, you're on the cleanup crew. You know that, right? You know when you go to a church social and it's really fun to take the prize-winning pie or whatever the thing everybody wants a recipe for, but it's not as fun when you got asked to help put away the chairs and clean up the kitchen? Mm-hmm. It's really fun to have all of the alternative experiences and to think about ETs and all these kinds of amazing esoteric things. But all of us, every one of us who's here now, we're on the cleanup crew. And this is a fun thing. we sort of probably have to take our first action by reinventing. So yeah, it's kind of scary, and it's difficult right now, and it's really bumpy, and isn't, the bumpy, turbulent air ever going to be over, and all of these things. But that's what we came for. We
That's
just
what we
put
keep
our little hands right up when the call went out, who wants to go during that? So if we're here, that's one thing we know about ourselves. And if we're talking about change making right now, today, then we're talking about being the people that are part of the cleanup crew. So I like to think about taking action and cleaning up somewhat synonymously. If I were going to I always look at it on the individual level, and then, on the more global level. And if I were going to suggest an individual cleanup crew job, one of the small actions, those are never just like putting away the chairs at the church social. They're not very sexy things, but they're so vital, and they really can change the world. If, for instance, we really, really stopped gossiping about each other and criticizing and judging each other, that would be the most extraordinary change. And even people like myself and like yourselves, we find ourselves doing it. I can't believe how deep it goes into our personal and larger cultures to be idly talking to one another about a person not there with us and assessing why they're doing what they're doing. And it's very hurtful. And we know it about each other. We know we're doing it. We know people are doing it to us. We know we're doing it to others. It's a small cleanup crew task that we can really bring a lot of fun and creativity and commitment to. On the other side of things, when I think about being a change maker, an area of my passion, I think a way to bring extraordinary change is to really get an effective and fabulous life. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk about in my keynotes at the conference. Because having that life, bringing ourselves to that, stepping up to it, taking the steps and the actions that bring it there, if we can bring that much change to our life, it transforms everyone around us. There are lots of things we can do, and both of you have so far talked about some of the other wonderful things that we can do. But I think one of the most exciting is to really get a great life. And doing it as part of the cleanup crew during the time when the streets are littered with our, millennia of human garbage. And all of those old habits and patterns which are coming up to beleaguer us now like crazy. We don't have any more rope, do we? Everything is in our face all the time. And that is a challenging time to make a great life, but really a time of opportunity. So to become effective in our life, what is an effective life? How do we gain an effective life? One that, in fact, brings change to ourselves and others. That's a topic that I'm quite passionate about. One of the things we can bring to it is to make a mantra that is, how can I do something differently? So many of us, myself included, have very gnarly situations facing us. Lots of people are having relationship difficulties. I talked to 4 people today, all of whom were in huge arguments with others. So certainly our relationships can stand a lot of transformation. And I find the thing that works really terrific for me is when all the triggering starts to happen, when the difficulty begins to engage, if I really kind of sink down into myself, my my body is going to be registering the beginnings of conflict, some adrenaline, things like that, which are not easy. My emotions may begin to activate a little strongly. But if I can sink down in myself and bring forward the thing that I actually care about most, which is we know how all the usual things go and where they take us. And if we're really going to evolve, then what is an incrementally different thing that I can do? So the person might be quite aggro with me and going off at me, and I feel, of course, the things we would feel. That's not pleasant. But I feel, in addition, a passion and an interest. If it's coming to me, let me see what can be transformed. Not all of it, perhaps, but maybe way more than I can imagine. And that calls in a connection to, the greater inspiration and the greater creativity. And I'm amazed the things that I come up with as soon as I sort of crouch down in myself to that position of determination. I'm going to find something to do differently, because otherwise it's the same, that saying.
Yeah.
Doing things the same way is, and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity.
Yes. Yes,
this is your pause, Marilyn.
That definition of insanity. In having a mantra, I love that. I was writing it down.
Mm-hmm.
If it is coming to me, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Okay. If it is coming,
yes.
Okay, good. If it is coming to me, let me see what can be transformed. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think I said that.
And
I said it a couple of different ways, maybe, and once I used the word incremental.
I think you also said, how can I do something differently?
How can I do something differently?
How can I do something differently?
I've always heard and believed that there is a solution to absolutely every problem. There's a solution to everything. But you do have to take action. And sometimes people get kind of stuck in that fear that the action that they are going to take is the wrong action. They get frozen in that time.
That's true.
How do you get beyond that? How do you get unstuck or get unfrozen in time? Do you have any suggestions there?
Well, sometimes I get frozen too. When adrenaline, and the mind starts its clatter, sure, I get frozen.
And
we all know what to do about it.
Yeah.
I started to answer, but I know everybody listening knows. We get discouraged because we think we didn't do it quickly enough, or that it's wrong to have become frozen. And the main thing is just to keep, if you're in a rut, which is sort of like what frozen is, you just keep kind of rocking and popping the clutch until it rocks you up out of the rut. So I guess it's even to move beyond the discouragement, to keep going, even if you're discouraged, even if you're frozen, even if you're frightened.
Yeah.
I think it's calling on the expanded parts of yourself. I mean, we as humans, everybody has such ingenuity, but we do have to persist into it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily come easily. Ingenuity is called for in the difficult moment, in the crunch time. But we spend too much time wishing there weren't a crunch time. We've got to get over that. We need to muscle up, and get active.
Yeah, I
enjoy the action. Be glad to be alive and taking the action, the difficult actions.
I think that's a realization, is that to get over the crunch time, to get over yourself and stop going into all that is not happening and start going into all that is happening.
Also to take inventory of what you have done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
like pat
fabulous.
yourself on the back every once in a while and realize that, it's we get caught up in what's not happening. I remember one time I was stuck and a friend of mine started rattling off like the last 5 years of the things that I had done. And as she was saying it, I was like, who is that person? And then I realized, oh my God, she's talking about me. I'd completely forgotten that I had done all those things.
Yeah, there's one of our participants tonight, Sonia. She is in a hotel, and she says that there's a notepad in the hotel, and at the top it says "accomplish list." And
Ah,
how perfect is that?
That's great. And
Yeah.
Marilyn, when we were on the testing out, do I really have a connection moment, I asked you to choose a number, and you between 1 and 43, and you chose 42. And I did that because I have a set of cards that I've made over the years. They're not for sale or anything. I just play with them sometimes. That are kind of inspired readings that I've done for people over time, and I have lots and lots of them. And I happen to have 44 of them with me. And you chose number 42. I was having you choose it for everybody who's listening. So this is something that I think applies wonderfully to the whole overall topic tonight, as well as to what kind of action to take. The card that you chose is spiritual self-realization. And here's what I wrote down that Spirit said in the moment that this information came. It was several years ago. Your overarching core purpose and desire, and this is to everyone listening, is for full spiritual self-realization, the full expression of the authentic self. And doesn't that sound like all of us?
Yes.
Know that you are in the final stages of awakening, the stage associated with truth and authenticity. This is the inner fire that is unquenchable, uncontainable, and is inherent within you. As you know, we speak of the fire that consumes. Be encouraged, for you are past the point of return. The fire of the uncontainable life force within is rising, sounded deeply by your highest self. As the year progresses, it's becoming increasingly difficult to hold back or to edit any part of who you are. So act from your deep inner unwillingness to abandon yourself, to ignore your intuition, to forfeit yourself, to pretend. The all-consuming fire is in the final stages of burning out all the blocks and obstructions that limit you from full self-actualization. This fire is already lit. It will do what it must. It will take the time it does. Therefore, proceed to enjoy everything as you go. That's
Wow.
fabulous. What a good number
Yeah.
you chose, Marilyn.
It's
Thank you.
one of my favorite numbers. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Lynedra. Thank you for sharing your cards. I want to buy your set of cards, so we have to get them designed somewhere. Um, uh, and thank you so much for sharing your time this evening on a Wednesday evening and going to all the trouble to finding a signal in the outback of Alaska somewhere in an ATV, all-terrain vehicle. I know that it is. And thank you for coming to the conference. I know that it's not the easiest place to get to, but and sharing your stories, your wisdom, your light, and your love at the
And being
conference.
part of the wonderful community that's always there. I just can't wait to hug everyone and to meet new friends
It
as well
is
as
it is
hug the
so
old.
cool to see all those people, isn't it?
It is. It's a wonderful, wonderful conference. If you're anywhere near, get there. And if you're far and can come, please join us. Please join
Yes.
us.
Please do. Please do. We tried to make it as easy as possible. We've got shuttles arranged to pick people up from the airports and everything. So thank you. Thank you. And you can find Lynedra at lynedracarroll.com.
I'm going to have a new website soon.
Oh, cool.
Yay.
LANEDRA, like Cryon, Lee Carroll, but no relation. a channel of a different sort. So thank you, Lenendra. Thank you so much, Lenendra. I
Thank
really
you. Thank
appreciate
you.
your wisdom and all that you do. You know, we have another speaker that I have to say, last year I met our next speaker, and and he, I didn't know quite what to do because I have called people up and said, you know, I feel like I'm supposed to be a speaker at your conference. My soul is telling me this, and this person kind of did that for me. My soul is telling you that I'm supposed to be a speaker at your conference, and it's like, you know, I don't really have any extra room. However, his soul must have talked to my soul because because he was a speaker at our conference last year in Mount Shasta. Dr. Scott Werner is a medical doctor. He practiced as an OBGYN doctor for many years in traditional medicine. He's from St. George, Utah, and he also now, through his transformative life change, does medical intuitive work. He works with herbs and detoxification programs and parasite cleanses and lots of homeopathics. You know, I know Aderonda always says, well, find a naturopath or a homeopathy doctor that's also an MD, because that works better than anything. Well, Dr. Scott Werner is that. He also travels all over the world and lectures professionally at health conferences in Nevada, New Hampshire, California, Hawaii, well, you know, most of the 50 states. He works in essential oils as well, and he has quite a story for himself in transformation, but he'll probably share that at the convergence. He recently finished another book, the spiritual. We'll get to that.
The next step in human evolution.
The next step in human evolution. That's right. You know, he's Reiki, does Reiki healing. You know, I could talk and talk and talk about him. He has activated through Saint Germain's teaching a new DNA structure for the planet, which is why we want him to share this here. Dr. Scott Werner, I know you're here.
I hope you can hear me okay. I got my microphone on, hopefully, and we're going to give you something. You know, going to the Visionaries and Light Convergence in Mount Shasta totally changed my direction. And how it did this is by attending and mixing the energies with the people there. It totally activated some things in my body that totally changed and it prepared me for what I was to have happen just after the conference. Saint Germain appeared to me in the flesh. He actually materialized in a hotel room there in Reno, Nevada, of all places, on the way home to St. George. And you know, I was just really excited about everything that had happened at Shasta because I'd always wanted to go to Shasta, and that was my first time being there. And there was so many people that I just instantly knew. And we still connect, and we still are having amazing experiences. And anyway, Saint Germain came and talked to me for a couple of hours about an answer to a question I'd been asking for about 6 months, is what do we do about all the toxins and radiation and all the chemicals we're being exposed to in our earth right now. And because I go and detox people, but they're getting toxed up as fast as I'm detoxing them. And so I needed an answer of what to do. And he brought me an answer that just absolutely dumbfounded me and had nothing to do with what I was doing. Because he came and he said, we are to change ourselves and evolve into Homo luminous, which have 24 strands of perfected DNA. And he taught me how to bring those in, manifest them into our bodies. And he told me I needed to write a book about it. And so anyway, I know we're running out of time,
Well,
but
we've
I'm going
got
to talk.
plenty of time. We've got
Oh, I'm going to.
you've got you're good. We're on till for another 35 minutes.
Oh, good,
But you only
good.
have about 10 of that.
Yes. So anyway, after that experience, I was thinking I was going to go back to sleep, and Melchizedek came and talked to me for an hour, and then an archangel by the name of Zaphkiel, who I, you know, sort of met at the conference through a lady that I met there. I mean, everything happened at the conference. It was incredible. And when Marilyn says I was supposed to be there, I was supposed to be there, and it wasn't necessarily to talk, but it was to experience everyone there and the energies, and to get activated, and to come into the energy that I could become who I was supposed to become.
Yeah.
And here I thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, and this experience just changed totally my direction. And Saint Germain also said to me that I was going to go to Colombia and meet a man there, and needed to write a book about that. So I needed to hurry and get this book written that he had given me the task to do. And so I finally, how we get back into our life, and everybody and everything was taking my time, and I was unable to write anything. So I decided to go to Hawaii, because that's where I wrote my first book, Take Back Your Health. And Hawaii's an amazing energy also. And Maui especially has this creative energy. It's the creative chakra of Hawaii. The Big Island is the root chakra, but the Maui is the sacral plexus, or creative center. And so I go there to write, and it's quite interesting. I'm just supposed to mention this. As I wrote my first book, I met many people I was supposed to meet and that I had put on my manifestation board. I met Wayne Dyer there and talked to him, and he told me that my book just should stand on its own, because on my manifestation board I wanted him to write the foreword for it. And he said, Scott, I may lower the vibration of it. But I don't know how he could have done that. He was just such a fine individual. And so I'm really grateful I was able to spend time with him, and another man I met by the name of Michael Shane, who is an amazing psychic and intuitive on his own. And but Maui, I finally ended up there, and it was quite interesting. I said to Saint Germain, I said, you've got to help me out, because right now, if I leave my practice and what I'm doing, I won't have a lot of money. And I asked him how long did I need to go, and he said 3 weeks. And so I said, okay, you make the arrangements, and I'll go and write the book. And so anyway, what happened is I was doing an intuitive reading on a lady that lived in Maui, and she liked so much what I was saying. She said to me, if you're ever in Hawaii, I'll give you a place to stay. And I said, well, I'm actually coming to Hawaii at the end of this month, and I need a place to stay. And she welcomed me into her ohana, which is above her garage, and it was the most beautiful little apartment. And she prepared it by putting pictures of Saint Germain, and just put everything I needed right there, and fed me every day. And let me tell you, my experience was so unique, because I was just taken care of. Saint Germain took care of me. And then to help pay for the trip so I could write the book, we actually had Hawaiian miles on Hawaiian Airlines, and I had enough miles that it cost me $10 round trip to go to Hawaii. And then he set up a thing at the Temple of Peace with some people there that I've known for about 4 years. And they all set up a seminar, and I taught at the seminar, and we just did donations, and it paid for everything else. It was just incredible. And so, the guides and the masters are here, and they're here to help us, and they will help us, and they do help us. All we've got to do is say, okay, will you make arrangements for me? And they did. And the same thing happened with going to Colombia.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
you
can
know,
can you address a little bit about, I know going to Colombia, and I know in the Next Evolutionary Step book, you talked about the DNA activation
yes,
and the DNA
yes.
change. Can you, I mean, I don't want to run out of time, but I want to be sure, and everybody, it seems like everybody, all the spiritual teachers are talking about we're getting in 24 strands of DNA, we're activating the
Yes.
DNA change. What does that do for us? How,
You know,
how can you share that with us?
20 years ago, people were talking about 12 strands of DNA.
Yeah.
And when Saint Germain came and described the original human beings with the 24 strands of DNA, it made total sense to me, because when we have the 24 strands, we've also got the telomeres that go at the end of each one of those strands. And telo means communication, and a mirror gets us into other dimensions. And so as we manifest these 24 strands of DNA, it actually activates things that we should have had in the first place. And it makes us stronger physically. It makes our spirits vibrate at our mental attitudes, our emotions. They all start vibrating at higher vibration, and it changes our life. Uh, I know I'm not talking about much how to do it, but I'll teach that at the conference. But it's highly incredible. And I tell you, all of you should make arrangements to go. I didn't know I was going to Shasta till 2 weeks before I went, and we've got 3 weeks here. Don't we have 3 weeks, or maybe it's 2.5 weeks?
It's
I'm
about
not
three
sure.
weeks. It's 24 days.
Yeah, and it was the best thing I ever did, because it changed my life. It brought in Saint Germain, and it brought in the information of the questions I'd had. And what's amazing about the 24 strands of DNA is once you've activated them all, and it takes 144 days of manifesting. Some people have done it faster. I don't recommend doing it faster, because it does change your body, and you want to kind of take it easy and activate it one day at a time, because if you go too fast, I had one guy that wasn't sleeping, and he was doing 6 to 12 activations a day, and his wife called me up and said, "Scott, you got to talk to him. He's just really going crazy with this." And he actually was doing so well. I just recommended to slow down, because he needed some rest. Our bodies need a little bit of rest, but he was just amazing, and the changes that he made uh, turned him into such a beautiful human being. And his wife, it just she thought she adored him before, but she just totally adores him even more now, and she watched the changes going on with him, and so she started doing the manifestation.
And,
What's interesting is,
as a part
go
of
ahead.
this replay, on the
Yes,
page on our website, we're actually going to have the link to the video that you created with that 24 strand DNA activation, right?
excellent. That will
Thank you.
be excellent.
Thank you for letting us share that with everyone.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
the people that I know that have done it, um, uh, and I don't know if they've completed their 144 days yet, but it has powerfully shifted their consciousness. It's powerfully shifted their world. And anytime you're laying in the new DNA and activating your telomeres, all going in the right direction, it is conscious of where we are headed in being a change. And with that change in our DNA structure, do all people, if they are all people changing their DNA structure, or is it just certain ones that intend to?
Yes, I've actually taught it to a couple of guys in jail, and they were doing it in the jail system. And all of the people around them noticed that these guys were just becoming luminous. Literally, beaming out better energy, and the guards were just like, wow, what are you guys doing? Oh, we're doing this DNA activation. And so, it has an effect that just changes your life and changes your attitude. It changes your outlook on everything. Like, right now everybody's scared of the Shemitah and the possibility of a huge financial disaster. And me, I'm just looking at it as, it's a change that's going to occur. You're going to reap what you've sowed. And it's actually going to be a marvelous time where we become more like God, more like who we should become. And the activation of the 24 strands of DNA is just a part of that. There's much more. And as I write more books, more will come out. When Saint Germain talked to me, he probably only talked to me about the answer to my question for about 30 minutes, and then the rest of the time he spent talking about other things that need to happen here on the planet. And so none of that even got in the book.
And the title is, one of our listeners, our participants tonight, one of the title of that book, it's The Next Step to Human Evolution, correct?
The next step in human evolution. It's only available on Amazon currently, but it's interesting. One of the ladies who works with Angela Mandato, who was also a speaker at the conference last year, she somehow found the book on the internet. She was praying for enlightenment, and she was drawn to the book, and she started doing it. And she called up Angela, and she says, "Angela, is this your brother-in-law?" And Angela was like, "Yeah." And she says, "Did you know you were in the book?" And she's like, "No, I haven't read it yet." And it's like, here Angela is, my sister-in-law. She hadn't even read the book yet, and this person clear across the country calls her up and tells her, "Well, you better get reading." So, it's got a lot of power, and it changes our lives for the better, and that's what it's all about, in my opinion. Is
I have a question,
making the
Dr.
change.
Scott. I have
Yes.
a question for you. So Marilyn and I were at the Summer Light Festival with Lee Carroll and Cryon, and
Yes.
Cryon was saying that all children born after 2012 are being born with this new DNA structure, and they're also being born remembering who they are. And
Yes.
I'm just curious as to two things: what you think about that, and also as a medical doctor, how science is seeing that. How is it appearing now for science, or is it appearing for science yet?
Right now I haven't seen the scientists paying much attention to it. They're actually working on other things. There are some enlightened scientists who are studying the DNA and seeing us change. And you can test your DNA if you'd like. I quite frankly don't like the government knowing where I'm at or what I'm doing or any of that kind of stuff. So I haven't went and tested, but it's interesting. As I walk past little children, they all look at me and smile. And I look back at them, and I start just feeling this energy from them, and I start hearing them talking to me. And so it activated some telepathy in me that has been incredible. And they're all just so happy. And when they see me, they go, "You're one of us," and it's like, okay, this is cool. Yeah, I'm a child at heart, and I always have been. But to have these babies say that to me, it just is so delightful. And they just, we just have that connection. And so, yes, I believe they are. I haven't really looked into that and asked the question, but intuitively, yes, they're very evolved, and they are coming in with more DNA. And so it's a marvelous thing.
It
Well,
is.
thank
It
you.
is a marvelous thing, and our participants can find out more about you at your website, scottwarner.org.
Yes.
Correct. And you know, you will be at a conference, the Convergence, and you will also be teaching the activation of the DNA, teaching a workshop that night. So thank you. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this evening. Thank you for sharing your insights and some of your stories about that. One of the differences that we can make in our world is to acknowledge our own DNA change and to acknowledge the shifts and the changes that we are occurring. So thank you. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you, Scott.
And also to remember to ask for help from our guidance system. You know, that's really important, is to ask for help.
They're twiddling their thumbs waiting for us, and all we got to do is just say, hey, I need some help with this. And boy, they are right there. And they do it better than we can ever do it.
That is correct. That is correct.
So much. I know, Marilyn, I think Aderonda is coming in tonight, right? And, you know, I was thinking, because I can feel them, I was thinking also that we may have quite a few people online right now that they don't even know who Aderonda is.
Well, would you like to, would you like to tell them? Or you want me to tell them?
Aderonda is this really good friend that I have that appears in mist, but looks just like Marilyn sometimes.
Well, Aderonda is a spokesperson for a council that I channel. And in 1999, I had them come to me through me. Aderonda is a multidimensional being, and they say they speak for a council of 12, which has expanded. And they have always called themselves the team or the company, which is what Aderonda and Company is. But they've expanded in the past few weeks and become the Council of Light as Elohim joined. And so with that energy, Aderonda says that I'm the activator, and they actually magnify my activation energy and allow the energy to go through the airwaves, the activation, the focus in this. Now, we're not going to have question and answers tonight. That's on the double digit on 9/9 of 2015. Each month we do a State of the Universe message with a question and answer activation. But tonight, what we're doing is I'm going to step aside for just a second, and we're going to get insights as to adding to our wonderful speakers, Karen Mackay and Lynedra Carroll and Dr. Scott Werner, and adding to their insights and see how we can be the change from another dimension. And I never know quite what's going to happen, but Joy, you're in charge. And so take a deep breath. Let's see what Aderonda has to say about this change business. I deliberately clear and seal this space on all sides, all directions, above and below, around each person that listens to this now and in the future. I'm so thankful to be a direct channel for the Holy Spirit and the cosmic Christ consciousness. I'm honored by the presence of each of our master guides, teachers, and angels. I know they hold the intention that all healing, all information, all releasement is for the highest good of each person that hears this recording. I step my conscious self aside so that all information that comes through is clear, concise, and succinct. Open the Akashic records, and for this I give thanks. So it is good day to you, huh? It is so good to see each of your energies out there in the world. For those of you that do not know us, we are Aderonda. We connect with your guidance system, and we connect you with our own council of light, and in that capacity we see how the shifts in consciousness can occur. We want you to know That whether you like it or not, you are the change makers. You are the beings on this planet that we call light plurkers. Light plurkers are people that plurk, play, and work in the light. And so in that capacity, we want you to know that your very thought is being made manifest. That the way you are creating in this energy is creating the differences that you are choosing. Is to feel that energy in your emotional body. Feel it, feel the frequency of it, feel the action of it. As we work with your heart chakra right now, as you take a deep breath, you might even feel our hands on your heart chakra. But with that energy, what we are seeing is that we are activating your focus for getting out of your own way. Your focus for acknowledging that frequency of being the change that you wish to see in this world. Now, there are those who believe that it is easier to make $1 than it is to make a difference in the world. That is the old vibration. That is the old frequency. There are those who think that you have to be a great leader or a great master to push the energy and make the change in this world. That is the old energy. Now, all you have to do is feel into the change that you wish to accommodate. Activate all your strands of DNA, activate all that energy, because it happens naturally within you. It is the frequency of the fifth dimension. Now, you might get the opportunity to get out of your comfort zone. Our sweet Lenedra said to take action. Our wondrous Karen said to empower yourself and remind yourself that it is not something that is negative, that is you. You are a gift from Source. And in that capacity, acknowledge that the guidance system, the Saint Germain, all the Ascended Masters, the angelic realm, as Dr. Scott Warner says, they are here for you. They are here with you. They are here to be you. And with that energy, how can you be anything but the change? So accommodate that focus as you are transforming your energy, as you are accommodating that frequency of love, accommodating that frequency of light, accommodating that energy. We feel that some on our call tonight, or maybe in the future, we're not sure, are working to keep their heart closed because they're not sure that they are feeling us, they're not sure who we are. We are a messenger from Source. And we have come into this dimension from Source to help with this shifting planet. Now you know, dearest ones, that you can turn on any news station, you can pick up any newspaper, you can Google anything, and you will see all sorts of, as Sweet Lenedra says, gnarly things that are working to hold you back, working to stop you, working to acknowledge that. We are accommodating an activation of such magnitude now and on the 27th of September that it changes the course of humanity. There's several people in the world that are planning to say that there's going to be some big hoop-de-doo on the 28th. So don't do this, don't do that. That is not happening. What we see is in the activation of the energy for humanity. When we gather together all of the energies, when we gather together all of the frequencies, all with all of our little telomeres going in the right direction, all of our little DNA strands going in the same direction, all of our intention building to that intention of love, of light, of clarity, of expanding from the place of wisdom, global shifts will occur with ease and grace, love and compassion. You see, dearest ones, to be the change. Every time you say to yourself, I don't know how to change, I don't know what to do, you are correct. We know we tell you this all the time. Instead, rephrase your own verbiage. I'm looking for the solution. What did Lenedra say? And the solution is coming to me. Let me see this in a different way. Let me see the positive aspect in a new way. The Vessel Maryland went to a celebration of life this past weekend for a family member, a near family member. And there are many who went to that celebration that were worried because of the interactions, the disagreements, the interknocking of heads of other family members. And they started to talk about all of the drama. And the Vessel Maryland said, stop it. You are breathing into it. When you are talking about the drama, when you are talking about the story of how horrible this is and how horrible that is, you are creating the problem yourself. So stop the drama and allow for miraculous results to occur. In the Vessel Maryland's life, they did. She needs positive examples, so she gets them. Positive action, so she gets them. Understand that as you are the difference in this planet, what you are asking for is coming to you. So even though you may feel that you are at a stagnant or zero point, use that as your springboard to shift in any direction, and it is positive. To take action, and we say, well, you cannot feel, you cannot know what you are to do. We know that you cannot know not about what to do. You can only know what to do. You see, any step is the right step. Breathe that in. Any action is the right action. Breathe that in. Gather your community around you. As Scott mentioned, coming to the convergence changed his life. We hear that every single year because that is our intention, is to activate whatever is in your highest good to be activated. And that is what we are doing. You understand what we say? That is what we are activating, is what your passion is. If you do not know what your passion is, and we know that there are some on this call that, and some who will listen in the future that will sit here and listen to all of these wonderful ideas, and they will say, well, I don't know what my passion is. I don't know what I love. Because we know that we tell you to do what you love all the time. And if you don't know, hang out with us more often. We have thousands of people all over the planet. Find their passion. Acknowledge their passion. We believe that the only reason you don't feel like you can find your passion is because you think that your passion must be something different than what it is. You see, a person's passion does not have to be huge energy. The Vessel Maryland's passion is making a difference in the world, so she activates people wherever she goes. And she does so on a global scale. That may not be your passion. Your passion may be planting flowers in your yard around a stop sign to keep people aware that the stop sign is there. Your passion may be to acknowledge, to become a dog walker. Your passion may be to write stories. Your passion, it does not matter. Your passion is your passion, and it is there. And know that you are enough to acknowledge it. Breathe that in. We're going to activate the difference that is within you. Because you see, when you see the change that you are, then you are the living example of that difference. You can do anything. We know a young girl that started doing something with pennies to share with others with pennies. She's going to be on TED Talks in a few weeks because she made a difference. And even though she started something very small, you know, a teacher who gave her students a blue ribbon and said, give this blue ribbon to a friend that made a difference in your life. And one of their students came home and gave it to a father who gave it to someone else, and it caused the son to not wish to commit suicide. You see, you never are aware of the difference that you are making in this world. So we ask you not to be attached to the outcome. Not to think, oh, I'm going to make this difference. Instead, just do it. Instead, just shift. There are people all over the planet that could use your service. And your service is about acknowledging those things that you love. And we believe that you can live a life that you love, and in that essence, you are making the difference. You are the difference in your world. We ask you to get out of your comfort zone. Take a deep breath on that. As you are getting out of your comfort zone is that place where you're on the sofa or you're somewhere in your home and everything is in its place and everything is good and you always go to the same restaurant and you always eat the same thing and you always order the same meal and you start your day with this and that and the other. That is your comfort zone. We're asking you to get out of your comfort zone. When you are in your comfort zone, life is still. When you are out of your comfort zone, life begins again. So we ask you to shift out of your comfort zone. If you are beginning to feel a little bit uncomfortable with what you are doing, good, congratulate yourself. That is forward motion. Your cells, if it's not familiar to you, they're going to want to sort of pull you back. Well, you tell your little telomeres to charge ahead, because that is all that is needed. So take a deep breath. We're going to place our hands on the front and back of your heart chakra. Those of you that can feel us, we are igniting the energy so those who listen in the future can also feel us. You are their surrogate, their buddy. We are going to help release and integrate that old feeling of not enough, that old feeling of unworthiness, so it is no longer standing in your way. Breathe into that. We're going to show you just 3 action steps that you can take right now to make a difference. It matters not how big or how small those action steps are. If it is small, use it as a metaphor for your life. I'm going to help activate your DNA that is laid in, so you have the wherewithal, the talents, the skills, the energy of this 5th dimensional living. Breathe this in, dearest ones. You are the next evolutionary step for humankind. You are the change that you wish to be in this world, that you wish to see in this world. You are the difference. You are the transformation that you are experiencing in love, in light, in compassion, in wisdom, in clarity, in understanding as your DNA is laying in. You are the presence, and you can let go of the past. Breathe that in. And again. And again. You see, this concept of stepping out and beyond your comfort zone is constantly expanding. Dearest ones, live the life you love. That will create change. Breathe into the creation of things. Feel it in your emotional body. And take action. Namaste, dearest ones. Namaste. You're unmuted.
I said, welcome back.
Thanks.
I just wanted to let everybody know that Marilyn did promise a special offer on the Convergence, and if you're interested in coming to Arkansas with us on the September, coming up towards the end of September, under the full moon, might I add, it's going to be really amazing, and you bring somebody with you, you can actually get 50% off of that second full 3-day pass. I've put, I guess I didn't put it up yet. Okay, I put an offer up on the screen, and all you have to do is click through to that. And we'd love to see you in Arkansas. Love to give you a hug. Love to have you part of our Visionaries in Light family. As well as we have a few gifts for you. I'll be sending out a replay email to everybody that has been registered. Marilyn has a gift for you. It is one of my most favorite recordings that she's done. It's called Creation, and it's one of the tracks of Creation, which is just an amazing piece of music by Marilyn and Randy Luna, our musician,
our Galactic Orchestra,
who will also be with us in Hot Springs, Arkansas. If you've never been to the Convergence, it is a blast. Marilyn really knows how to put on a great event. She's a wonderful speaker. We have amazing speakers. You've heard from a couple of them. And not only that, but we have visual artists, photographers, musicians, sound healers. I mean, every type of energy that you could hope to experience in a really great way will be on stage at the Visionaries in Light Convergence. And the day before, we take a busload, or maybe 2 busloads, it looks like we're filling up at this point, out to Mount Ida, Arkansas, where we actually, I think I'm hiding it and you're showing the offer, huh, Marilyn? Hopefully it's being shown right now, but we're taking a group of people out to Mount Ida, which is, a couple hours from Hot Springs up in the Ozarks, and it's an amazing place to dig quartz crystals. It's, I could tell you a great story about it, but then we'd be here for another 10 minutes. But
But I want to say something. I want to say something. One of the reasons we're going into Mount Ida, Arkansas to dig crystals, and one of the reasons that we're going into Hot Springs is because the whole place is built on a crystal bed. We're going to dig crystals on the 24th. That's the pre-event. All this information is on our website. This is one of the crystals that I dug myself. It is a very big crystal. It works. I mean, this was from the mine that we're going to. This was also, look how clear that is. You can't see that very well. Look how clear that energy is in there. This is another crystal that I dug myself. Sometimes that's what they look like coming out of the ground. This is another crystal that I found in one of the mines in Arkansas. This I found it. I actually bought this. But this was
found it in the store.
I found it in the store at the mine. It was dug from one of the mines in Arkansas that we can go to. And so the same with this one. I dug that one. So, your hands, when they touch a crystal for the first time ever, you kind of squish that clay away and you see a straight edge, and you realize that your hands and God's hands were the only hands that have ever touched this in your whole life. I mean, you cannot imagine the feeling, and we take care of everything. We take care of the transportation, the food, the crystal digging. All you need to do is show up with an old pair of clothes that you might want to throw away. We're not going to dig. We're going into the mine ourselves, but we're going to one of the cleanest mines. I've had people say, "How dirty are we going to get?" I don't know. Depends on you. But digging crystals is a powerful thing, and we have, as Scott said, and I've heard it over and over, I think Aderonda said it, people come away from the convergence shifted. They come away as the change. That's why the promo code for this special offer, that when you go to this special offer, it's buy one, get one half price. So, grab a friend, come together, divide it in half, and then it's like $350 each. I mean, that's less than $150 a day. I mean, it's so powerful, and we know that we had this, so you can still get flights. There's nothing that's going to happen to the airplanes that are in the air on the 28th. You don't have to worry about that. We already checked into it. Joy and I are flying to Israel on the 28th to be with Lee Carroll's Cryon Tour. So don't worry about that. And we take care of your, arranging your shuttle. We take care of almost everything we can possibly take care of, just so you can be shoulder to shoulder with 20 of the most profound speakers of our time. It is, most people that have a convergence like this, a conference like this, would easily charge $800, $1,000. We have tried everything in our power to keep it cost effective for everyone. And just, I can't tell you what it's like to go someplace where where you don't know anybody, and you look at one person or two people, and you look into their eyes, and your soul recognizes their soul. That's what we have. That's what we experience. It is a soul-to-soul connection. We have people that have been coming to the convergence every year. We have people that because they met at the convergence last year or the year before that. This is our 5th year, by the way. Before it was called the Walk-Ins Welcome, but that's another story. It walked in. And we have people that they vacation with each other now. How many times can you say you met somebody at a conference and then you planned your family vacation with them the following year? It is about living your destiny. It is about being the change. So let us
watch for that email. I'll be sending out an email with a couple little gifts. If you're watching the replay, you'll also get the link for the special offer, and I'll have it in your email and on the replay page. And I'll also be putting up there in that email the link to Dr. Scott Warner's video about the 12 strands of DNA or the
24 strands of DNA activation.
The activation that he mentioned. So
and
definitely
get creation.
Definitely watch out for that email, and we are going way over, and I just want to thank you all so much for your time. Thank you to our speakers, our wonderful speakers. I'm so excited to see you all in Arkansas. I hope to see, it would be great to see everybody on this call in Arkansas as well. And thank you for spending your Wednesday evening with us, or your past hour and a half, 2 hours if you're listening to the replay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as my friend Marilyn says, namaste, y'all. Namaste.
Namaste, y'all.